Today we're going to be canning, hello everyone and welcome back. Today we're not going to do anything apparently. Today we're going to be canning cowboy candy. What is cowboy candy? Essentially it's candied jalapenos. They are relatively hot, but they're amazing. They taste great with crackers and cream cheese and just topped on many foods that you enjoy. And the brine that you use for it is amazing as a marinade for pork and chicken and all that stuff. So don't throw that away, by the way. So first we have to make the brine. I've already cut up the jalapenos. I wasn't going to take you along that ride because that was a process. Won't go into details besides the fact that we have a local guy that we can get relatively cheap, sometimes free produce from, and he had jalapenos for $2 a bushel. Yes, that sounds amazing. Yes, that sounds great, and it really is. But you're going to deal with problem children within that batch. So it's a lot of work to process out. It's way more work than just going out to your garden and picking the jalapenos off the vine. But when you don't have a garden to pick from and you're trying to stockpile what you can, you just deal with what you can get. So $2 for a bushel, and I can get 10 to 20 jars of cowboy candy out of it. It's well worth the hassle. So we're going to dive into this. I'm going to do the brine, show you what you need. Sorry, I'm a hand talker. And we'll get making this cowboy candy. Okay, so first we need a ton of sugar. No, the real measurement is 4 cups of sugar. Yes, it's a lot of sugar. But it helps preserve things, helps keep things from spoiling, and sugar is also going to sweeten this hot mess up a little bit. Might as well just dump the whole thing in there, but we got our 4 cups, and it really is, guys, look at this, a ton of sugar. Look at all that sugar. It's a lot of sugar. But that's what it calls for. Now we need 2 cups of apple cider vinegar. The mother. I am going to be making my own apple cider vinegar very soon here. It's actually not that hard to do. And, you know, whatever you can make of your own, I strongly suggest you try. If you can make your own vinegar, you make your own bread, can your own food, this is a lost art that really needs to come back. I don't know when we became so dependent on prepackaged foods and quit actually learning how to do it for ourselves. But we really need to bring back the self-reliance instead of reliance on everyone else. So I strongly suggest you learn what you're able to, if you're able to. Try. Some of this is very easy. This is really not hard to make. Try it out. Next things next, we need 1 teaspoon of turmeric. So here's our turmeric. It's a brown powder. Show it to you. We need 1 teaspoon of that. There's 1 teaspoon. And then we need 1 teaspoon of celery seed. I'm sure you could get away with salt, but I think when you put salt into this stuff, it tends to cloud it up more. So I recommend the seed, regardless. But if you don't have the seed, I'm sure you could get away with the salt. I don't have the granulated garlic. I just have the garlic salt, but I do have the minced garlic. So instead of putting granulated garlic, I am using minced garlic. So you need 4 teaspoons of the garlic. And then 1 teaspoon of the cayenne. So there's our cayenne. So now we have to heat that up and dissolve all the powder, namely the sugar. We have a lot of sugar to dissolve. I'm also, while we're doing this, I'm going to get the the pot up here with our jars, starting to heat them up for hot packing. So the juice is on the stove. You want to try to mix it up and get that sugar dissolved and all the other stuff dissolved. Mix that all in. I've got the stock pot going, which is our water bath canner, so that those jars can start heating up, because that is an important thing. If you don't want to risk ruining your jars, always make sure if you're doing a hot pack liquid or hot pack food that you always heat the jars up. They should be disinfected anyway, so doing this will help disinfect them. But you always want to heat those jars up if you're going to be doing a hot pack. If you're doing a cold pack, the jars would start off cold, because it, you don't need it hot then. You want it to be the same. So if you're putting your liquid in that's hot, you want a hot jar. If you're putting cold liquid in and cold produce, you want a cold jar. But if your jar is cold, then you want to make sure your canner is not turned on until after you've loaded the stuff, so that it all goes like equal room temperature when you're loading it. Same thing goes, you don't want to take something frozen, put it into the jar, and then put it into even a room temperature canner, because now you're also going to possibly shock the glass as well. So you just got to be very careful with your jars so you don't destroy them in the process of trying to can. You also would destroy what you've just created if you crack the jar in the canner, because now you got glass shards inside your food. So it's garbage. So we're going to go ahead and heat this up. This has to be brought to a boil, and then once it's boiling, put it down to a simmer for 5 minutes. Once that's done and it's on 5 minutes of a simmer, you're going to add your peppers, your sliced peppers, into this broth for 4 minutes. Then remove those peppers, slotted spoons, so you're leaving the liquid behind, and pack it into your hot jars. And then you're going to return the liquid to a boil for 6 minutes, a heavy boil. Then you're ready to put the liquid over the peppers, put the sterilized lids on top of them, and put them into the canner and start the process time. So we're going to go ahead and get this going to a boil. So we have had the broth now simmering for the 5 minutes. It's ready for the 4 minutes of the peppers getting added in. Now you don't see a lot of those spices in here. It's turning more into a liquid. The spices are at the bottom though. Spices are still at the bottom. So here's our jalapenos. We have a nice full bowl of chopped up jalapenos. You could, some people have, and I don't know this recipe, so you'd have to look it up. Some people have added pineapple into their jalapeno cowboy candy to help sweeten it a little bit so it's not as hot. But that would be up to you. I'm hoping this is enough juice, because I do have some leftover cowboy candy juice that I saved. I've got a loud child, of course. But I've got to get those submerged into the liquid and let that, again, just heat up for about 4 minutes now. And then we'll be ready to pack it into the hot jars. Peppers have been heating up for the 4 minutes. Our jars are getting hot. So you're going to take your tool. This is how you take the jars out typically. This is how I do it at least. I take the jars out, I tip them sideways, get all that water out. Do it slowly so you don't just fill it right on your hands. And then you're going to set it on a towel or a blanket. Do not just put it on the counter, because that could cause it to crack. I'm going to turn you around. I tipped it. So, once it's on that towel, yes, you can see, you're going to take your wide mouth funnel, put that on top, and you're going to put your peppers in there. Take your slotted spoon, remember, you don't want to add the liquid right now. If you can handle holding the jar, like here, I can actually handle it. It's warm, but it's not like horribly hot. I can handle it. As I add these peppers, it's going to get hotter. So you could always use a oven mitt, but just kind of add those peppers. If you end up with a little bit of liquid, not a big deal. Once the liquid is added to that, we'll push them down a little bit more too. wait at least a month, if not closer to 2 or 3 months, to let these flavors really meld together. Don't crack it open instantly, because it's just not going to be as good. So you have to fight that urge to open your jar instantly. All the peppers out of there, you're going to go ahead and let this boil. That means I got it started again because I had turned it off. You're going to let this boil for about 6 minutes on a heavy boil. So once it gets boiling again, times 6 minutes of a heavy boil, and then you're going to put the liquid over your peppers. So our liquid has boiled for the 6 minutes, and it's ready to go into our jars. Sorry for having to talk over a child. I've asked him to please stop, but he doesn't want to listen. I'm going to stir it up some just because there are spices at the bottom, so we try to get some of these spices into the liquid. You're supposed to leave about 1/4 of an inch of headspace, and then you move on to the next jar. Now remember, any of the leftover liquids, don't throw it away. It makes a great glaze. It's still usable, or you can hold on to it for the next time you make cowboy candy. It will be for 15 minutes at a rolling boil, and then leave it in there for 5 minutes to let it sit before you take it out of the canner and then set it on a towel or blanket, not directly on the counter because you don't want to cause the shock to the jars and cause them to crack. If you're doing half pints, which is the smaller jars, it's 10 minutes processing time. I'm not sure of the quart processing time. I don't know of anyone that has ever done quarts. So I know pints and half pints. I don't know quarts. So these will get processed for 15 minutes at a rolling boil. Make sure the water is covering the lids by at least 1 inch in the canner. And let it do a nice rolling boil, not a heavy boil, for 15 minutes. Before you turn the heat off, leave the cover on for 5 minutes and leave it in there. Then you take them out, put them on that blanket or the towel, and let them cool off for 24 hours. At 24 hours, you'll check the seals. We'll come back and show you how to do that. I want to actually remember to also say, when you fill these jars, when I use this, I don't tend to get much on the rims, but if you did get stuff on the rims, you can take some plain white alcohol on a towel or paper towel and wipe the rims to clean them so that the seal can actually make connection. But I wanted to make sure I said that before I moved on. I'll be right back. I forgot to say all kinds of things. I'm just jumping ahead here. But once you got your sterilized lids on, you wipe the rims, you're going to put the rings on finger tight. They don't have to be horribly tight, just finger tight. So that air can still escape as it's processing. That's the goal of this. So you're just going to finger tighten your lids down. So this is the jar that I processed the other day of the cowboy candy, so it's already cooled down. It's already sat for the 24 hours. So once it's sat for 24 hours, you need to check the seal. You always take this band off because you don't store with the band. So you take the band off. You don't keep the band down there just because that causes premature pressure along the edges here where it could cause the seal to come off prematurely. So take that off and then just check to make sure the bubble in the center is down. And then make sure you can pick up the jar by the lid. You should be able to pick it up. It's not supposed to be a loose fit at all. It's literally a vacuum seal that's holding this lid on there, so it's pretty tight. That's why when you pull it off, it's sometimes not that easy to do. But as long as you've got a nice tight seal, it is sealed, it's good to go. You just label what it is on the lid, put your date on there, and this is good for at least a year on the shelf. Ball recently changed their lids to say 18 months, so now they're saying a year and a half. It used to be 12 months. Many people eat it even 3 and 4 years later. So you got at least 12 months though once it's in this jar. So hopefully this video helped you out a little bit and you figured out a way of processing some of those excess jalapenos you might have out in your garden or that you just happen to get from the store, and something that you just might enjoy eating. Hope you guys have a blessed day. Be kind. You don't know what anyone's going through, and we'll catch you on the next one.